Hi, my name is Grace Comley, and this is my final paper presentation. The first theory that I researched is the SMART goal rubric, which addresses the idea that any team's goals must be clearly stated and possible to achieve. This theory states that goals need to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Goals must be specific so it is clear to everyone what needs to be reached. They must be measurable, or in other words, quantifiable, so it's easy to see when the goal has been met. They must be attainable because if the goal is too far out of reach for the team, they will not even put effort into achieving the goal in the first place, whereas when it's achievable, the team's more motivated to put in effort to reaching said goal. They must be relevant, meaning the goal makes sense with the direction that organization is going in and their overall goals and aspirations. Finally, the goal must be time-bound because, again, when the goal is so far out of reach or not easily seen in some span of time in the near future, the team will be less motivated to even try reaching it. The reason that I chose this theory to research is because it addresses how to create goals that will motivate your team. It keeps goals in a way that it doesn't seem too far out of reach and motivates them to do a little better than they would have previously. I also chose this theory because it raises awareness of what your strengths, what your team's abilities, and what they need to improve on. I also chose it because it promotes positive work ethic. Since your goals are achievable, they're just out of what your team usually does, or definitely something that is attainable. So it promotes them to work just a little bit harder to get a little bit farther than previously reaching before. The second theory that I researched is the relational leadership model. This focuses on the huge importance of relationships when it comes to being a leader. When speaking in terms of this model, leadership is a process of people working together to make positive changes, which is relational and ethical process. The book mentions how it is possible for someone to have a leadership while giving a speech or even through persuasive writing, but in most cases, leadership is found where relational interactions exist between group members and the individuals. Obviously, leadership differs from one situation to the next. That being said, leadership is consistent when it comes to the fact that it is established by relationships that we as people value. This leadership model shows the importance of relationships in the fact that this leader knows the strengths and weaknesses of their group well. It also intertwines inclusivity and empowerment of the group. The more relationships there are, the better you can involve everybody, and the better that you can try to lift everyone up and build off of their strengths. The reason that I chose this theory to research is because it helps us understand the group dynamics, because leader has relationships with everyone. It also allows for openness within the group, meaning if you have a better relationship with whoever is leading your group, you feel more open to speaking to them about concerns, and that kind of thing. And it's also strengthening weaknesses and building on strengths. So like, as I mentioned previously, because there are such good relationships with the leader and the groups, they are aware of what they need to improve on, and they're also aware of what they can use to their advantage in the future. So my goal after taking this class is that I want to be an understanding and knowledgeable leader about the members of my group. So I want to build relationships, be aware of strengths and weaknesses, be connected with them. This kind of ties back to the SMART goal rubric. I don't want to set unrealistic goals, meaning I don't want to set goals that are too far out of reach for my group because I know that they won't be motivated. So in using the relational leadership model, I can understand their strengths and weaknesses and set goals that are realistic to my group personally. Disconnected leadership people would probably set goals that are not realistic for their group, leading to the group feeling that they ask too much of them or they don't understand why they're in the position that they are in. So what challenged me while doing this project was recalling and reflecting on information from the beginning of the course. So one semester doesn't really feel very long until you have to recall what you learned in the first week of class. So I definitely had to like skim through the book and do a little review on the course as a whole. What was enjoyable to me was going into more detail on subjects that I enjoyed throughout the semester. Usually the final paper at the end of the class isn't really focused on a topic that you want to write about, so I thought this was a good project because you got to like really look back at all the topics that you had previously reviewed and say, oh, I really liked that one, I'm going to research that. So it was a good way to build off of your interests. One thing that I learned through doing this project was having a physical copy of the book is much better for me. It was much easier for me to find theories that I enjoyed because as I owned the physical copy, I did a lot of highlighting as I was reading. So it was much easier for me to find the topics that I really enjoyed and wanted to do more research on. So as a whole, I think this final project was a really good one, and I think it is personalizable in the fact that you can research what you really wanted to research. And that is my final presentation. Thank you.